My name's
Thanks,
Chandler. I'm
man.
with NextShark. Um, I realize it's probably strange to be referred to as cast members in your own family, but as newcomers to the show in season two, uh, what would you like viewers to know about you coming to this new season?
Kim, do you want to go first?
Well, Bella and I can, and hopefully, I don't want to like say something that Bella doesn't agree with, but we bring on a new fresh perspective to what it's like to be Asian American. And then, the things we face as, young Asian Americans, how there's a lot of societal pressure to have some filial piety, while also navigating, to be individualistic and also mindful of our own mental health, while also respecting the sacrifices that our parents have given to us so that we are able to live the lives that we live today.
Yeah, it's like just us sharing our own stories and our individual, problems and battles with our parents and our friends, and just your own self-worth and who you feel as a person. Like, we deal with that all the time, just like every individual person. Like, Kim has her own problems, I have mine, I'm sure you have yours, and it's just sharing that so that people can not feel like alone, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I know personally, as a Vietnamese American myself, season one did a lot for me just to see people like me on TV going through the same things. But they are of an older generation than I am. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you bring to the table in season two. Would you say that you have a different mindset from that of your older cousins in terms of what it means to be Asian American?
I think it's not so different because from season one, you can tell like Judy is her own person. She's amazing. She's so inspirational that she's able to go through her divorce and not, let anyone's opinion get in the way.
Mhm.
And for us, like, I also don't want to speak for Kim, but I know we talk about it all the time. It's just like, it's so hard to do that when you feel like a sense of duty and responsibility to your family. Like, you feel like you owe them everything, you owe them your entire life, and that's what you're kind of taught. And it's so hard to sit there and want to do things for yourself and be your own person. But like, you'll see it on August 25th when you watch all the episodes that you cannot water your own plant while you're trying to water someone else's. And that's like the biggest thing that I've learned throughout this whole entire season with my relationship with my mom, and trying to cater towards that, is that at the end of the day, like, I'm still my own person. I still feel a strong sense of duty and responsibility towards all my family and my cousins. And Judy and Leslie and Wash feel that way too, but they're at the point where they have kids, they're a little bit different. And they've gone through many years of their life where they've gotten to be comfortable with that. And we're still trying to navigate through those type of, issues.
I agree. I don't necessarily think that our mindset is necessarily polar opposites in any way, but the problems that we face due to how old we are and, how times are always changing, that's really the main difference there.
Right. It sounds like you have, or they've had an influence on you in at least some capacity, and we'll see that in season two. Do you think that they could probably say the same thing about you having an influence on them at all? Maybe the younger generation teaching the older generations?
I think so, for sure. Especially, you can ask Leslie. She just had a great time in one of the episodes. Like, we went out. It was like just Leslie, me, Kim, and her brother, Tim Sun. And she was like, I'm going to make you guys have fun because you guys don't know how to have fun. So you can see Leslie, who's season one, she's like a mother and doing all these things and just trying to be a good wife. Now you get to see a little bit of her character and who she is. And she had a whole nother life before she met Wash and had children. Like, she just wasn't always Leslie the mom. She was Leslie, like the pharmacist, but also a Katie Phi like founder. So
That's
she
exciting.
was a sorority girl. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
the roles that she has to fill is, to be the perfect daughter-in-law, to be the perfect wife, and to be the perfect mom. And while fulfilling those duties, she forgets that, she's also her own person. And that's what's so great about being Asian American and growing up in America, is because we have these freedoms to have self-expression and to have fun and not have to feel guilty about it. And I think because she's a little bit older, she forgets that, she doesn't always have to be a mom and a wife. and keep that in the back of our head. But it's always, it's okay every once in a while to go out and have fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. We hear a little bit about Party Judy in season 1, but I don't think she ever really fully comes out. So I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of fun things to do, I live in Austin currently. I've lived in the Austin, San Antonio area for a few years now, but I've never been to Houston myself. What are some things that you'd recommend first-time visitors experience when they come to the city?
Food.
Crawfish.
I
Oh,
like
yeah.
we
both lived in California for a really long time, and they do not do crawfish like they do it down here in Houston. And it's like it's just because Houston is just the melting pot of so many diverse cultures, so many immigrant cultures. But the crawfish here is a mixture of, Cajun, Vietnamese, Creole, from even Louisiana, like all these cultures together. And there's this unique flavor that cannot be matched anywhere else in America, anywhere else in any other country. So I always take my friends when they visit me to eat crawfish. So like, you haven't experienced Houston until you've been to like a crawfish boil where they like lay out trash bags onto the table and like just pour out all the crawfish onto the table and you just eat it and just throw it in like pounds and pounds of crawfish.
That's awesome. Is there any particular location that you recommend?
Well, personally, like homemade crawfish is probably our favorite, but Crawfish Cafe is like a favorite that we always go to and we take our friends to when, it does take a lot more work to do. So
Aunt Tina's son is actually the master crawfish broiler of our family. He's the one who will be cooking like 200-pound bags of like crawfish for our family. And he's just like, whatever is in his secret sauce, I don't know, but he'll take it to the grave.
Like coolers and coolers of crawfish that will be devoured. Like there's never any left over. That's
awesome. Well, I may never experience whole family crawfish, but if I come down, I will definitely try that out. That'll be the first on my list. What has your experience been like shooting the show, by the way? I mean, obviously, I don't have to tell you, I'm sure that you are aware that your life is about to become a lot more public when the show airs. Was that in the back of your mind as you were shooting?
I think, yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, it's actually really, really hard. You don't think that it's hard because, like, I know a lot of people say that it's scripted and whatnot, but in reality, we're saying reality TV, it's not that scripted. Like, we're just like, yeah, you're put here to talk about this, but you don't know what you're going to say. You don't know who's going to say what are you feeling, like the emotions that are going to rise out of you. And it's really hard to also, I know for myself, like I'm very prideful and I obviously want to be, the best version of myself all the time. But like, you can see it on the show that there's a lot of times where I break down and Kim break down and Leslie breaks down, everyone breaks down because there's just so many things going on in our lives and we're sharing it when we're not used to it. But I think it is a amazing experience, the people that I've met and also what I've learned about myself, like my boundaries and who I am as a person, what I'm willing to accept and deal with would not have been possible without the show.
Yeah, I am very introverted and shy. So this whole experience was very out of pocket for me. But the people I've met, the experiences I was able to share with my family that I would not have been able to do before, and just being able to share our story. So, other young Asian Americans watching, they don't feel alone and, their voices can be heard. That is enough to push me to be a little bit braver and, put my life on the internet, because I know that there's probably at least one person out there that's watching the show that they can relate to finally. And maybe it can help them, navigate through their own life as well.
Absolutely. That's great. Did either of you watch season 1?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Did you see anything that surprised you about your own family?
I did not know Judy was taking shots of tequila like that. Like, I did not know. I swear I was trying to get her to take some shots with me at one point. But I mean, she's a mother. She just had a baby now, so it's understandable. But she was just so free-spirited and like being Judy Ho. When we were growing up, like we looked up to her and we just wanted to be her. And like, she's amazing. And to see that on television, that other people can see who she really is as a person, there's like so much more to her than just being a lawyer or like a mother. It's amazing to see that of each individual character from on
Yeah,
season.
growing up, I idolized Judy so much that, you know, like I could never really see what like struggles she went through because I thought she was picture perfect and I wanted to be her so bad. But watching the show, it puts a really fresh perspective on how I see my own family member and that, you know, she's not perfect. She has her own struggles and own problems that she has to deal with. And she's just like me, even more so when I was growing up. So rather than be, you know, picture perfect, it's okay to have flaws because we're all human beings. And the fact that we're able to like see this from a third person perspective is very humanizing, you know, just to even see your own family members too.
Right. It's interesting that you say that you idolize her. I was about to ask if there's anyone in the show that we've met so far that you would consider a role model or somebody that you've looked up to. So would you say the same thing, Bella?
Yeah, I mean, both Judy and Leslie are role models to me, but they're just two in very different ways. Like they're both like, for me personally, they play the mom, the aunt, the older sister, the older cousin, like that friend, because I'm an only child. And everyone in my family, like my aunts, cousins, and uncles, like they are like parents to me in a way. So Judy gives me that kind of like, you know, this is solid advice. Like, this is what you should do. And Leslie gives me that comforting, nurturing, like, I will give you a hug. Because, you know, if you watch season 1, Judy doesn't hug. You'll see in season 2, like, she just doesn't hug. But she does hug me. So,
Yeah. Like for me, growing up, I'm the oldest in my family. I'm oldest daughter, just like Judy is the oldest daughter, who often gets overshadowed by her male younger brother because, you know, he's a boy. So Judy, I look up to her in a sense. When growing up, I wanted to be exactly like her, whether she's being successful in college, but now she's older, I want to be a successful mom to my kids. If I do have the opportunity to have kids, I want to be a great daughter and, you know, to show my parents I appreciate them just like she does today. And Leslie's obviously a new addition to our family, but I've seen a lot of relationship to her as well because my mom is from northern Vietnam. It's called Bắc Kỳ, and so is Leslie. So we're able to relate a lot about how our moms are and how they kind of like tiger mom us and like there are certain like unique cultures as compared to like southern Vietnamese. And like we're kind of bond over that and like how we grow up and how our personalities are shaped because of, you know, where our moms were raised and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but in the first season, we saw Leslie, Judy, and Washington deal with a lot of issues relating to conflicts stemming from the clashing of Vietnamese and American cultures. And I know the hoes like to say, we're very American, we're also very Vietnamese, but there are times where those things don't really agree. Um, do either of you feel like you experienced those issues in your own lives on and off camera? And do you think we'll see that reflected in season 2?
I definitely think we both do. Oh, sorry. I definitely think we both do. There's a term in Vietnamese called Hieu Thao, and that means filial piety in like a rough translation. And that's just, you know, appreciating your parents for all their sacrifices they've given us and giving back everything that they've given to us. But what's so unique about Asian American culture is that we have the opportunity and space to be a little bit more individualistic, to take care of our mental health, something that our parents didn't have the luxury of doing. So to be able to have an open dialogue with our family members, to collectively for them to heal from them being displaced from, you know, starting a whole new life from their home country and what they know, to us, you know, not only having that Hieu Thao, that filial piety, but also having that self-expression and to put emphasis on our mental health, something that our parents might not have the luxury of doing, but we do now, and having them understand that as well without being disrespectful.
Definitely.
Yeah, Kim said it really well in that sense. Like you'll see it in season 2, that I personally am dealing, you know, having trying to navigate my relationship with my mom and trying to kind of put my foot down in who I am as a person and who she is as a person. And then you really realize that when you're saying American versus your Asian traditions and cultural things, that this is where they do not align at all. Like we are literally raised and taught, like Kim said, to, you know, live for our parents. That's literally what they say, because that's what they were raised to do. That's what they think. And nowadays it's not like that anymore. And like, I think about it all the time, but I literally cannot water my own plant if I have to water everyone else's all the time. But at the end of the day, we're raised to think of our family. And that doesn't mean that just because I want to do something for myself and, you know, have my own life, that I don't have a sense of duty or responsibility to my family. I care just as much, but I need to have a balance of both, you know?
I agree. A balance of living for our family and the balance of living for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I think it's reflected in your show, but also personally, I've noticed that Vietnamese families are very big on being close. I mean, the hoes that we've seen live practically on the same street. Was it hard being in California, further away from your family, before moving here to Houston? Did you feel pressured at all to move to Houston?
Personally, for me, I left when I was 10. And it was extremely difficult for me because I am an only child, so I don't have any other siblings. And I moved to a completely different state where I had like 2 friends that were my mom's friends' daughters. So they had to be my friends. Like
Right.
It wasn't like me making friends on my own, their own free will or anything. And I was always that kid who went to other family parties through my friends, you know, like I was invited, I was a +1. And I would, you know, yearn to be around my family because we grew up so close. When I lived here, me and Kim, like our families would be at each other's houses. We'd have big family gatherings every weekend just for the sake of hanging out. Like there's no reason, just hanging out and taking turns to cook and like being around with all of our family members. And then being in California, I didn't have that anymore. And I just really miss them. I think I had a point in my life where I had my fun. I found who I was as a person. I've gone through things, I've gone over things, and I can look at myself in the mirror and say, like, I'm content with where I'm at. And now what I need is to be around the family that I've been missing for so long. Like visiting every summer is not the same as like hopping over to Judy and Leslie's house on a Friday night when we're bored. Like we're just like there all the time. And like, of course they're my family members, but accessibility is a big thing for us in terms of like who you're close to, you know?
Yeah, I think growing up, I took family for like I took it for granted because when I was in California going to college and everything, I was so lonely. And I was just so used to being able to go to my cousin's house or just call them or hang out with them just on a whim. But the show has given us an opportunity to reconnect and, you know, to put more emphasis on family. And we actually just took like a large family trip like a week ago. And this was something that we had done like 10 years ago that we hadn't done for a really long time. So just being in proximity of your family, especially when like 90% of your family lives here in Houston, is just something that has always been there, but we definitely have taken for granted. So now that we're here to stay.
And you'll see it on the show, like one of the 3 L's that they always talk about, you know, love, laughter, luxury. And that is what this show is about and our family is about, just being around each other, laughing, like doing crazy, funny things, but also like being there to support each other when we're at our lowest and we're feeling down. And we didn't have that opportunity when we weren't here all the time. And now like we're older, we're a lot more appreciative and it means so much more.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for speaking with me. And I think I speak for everyone at NextShark when I say we're so excited to see you appear in season 2.
Thank
you so much. It was nice meeting you.
Oh, it's time to go to work. What?
So Kim's officially my favorite sister-in-law now.
My wife thinks Sammy is a bad influence on me.
Lucky this is not your freaking face.
Damn, girl, let it go.